Hey, what's going on, guys? Daniel from ModBot here, and today I'm going to be bringing to you my first impressions of this guy. This is the ELEGOO Mars 2K LCD 3D printer. I am crazy excited, so let's get into the video. Really quickly here, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of my awesome Patreon supporters for making this all possible. So the Mars 3D printer is from ELEGOO. ELEGOO is a company that I've been using their resin for quite a while on my other printer, which is the AlphaWise W10 that I have great success with. One of the biggest drawbacks of that machine that a lot of people have commented on is that the LCD screen is only a 480p resolution LCD screen. Well, this guy is a 2K LCD screen, and the price point varies on it, but as of right now, it's $350, and ELEGOO did let me know that they're going to be having a sale that's going to be running over the next few weeks here, and that will include additional discounting, so I will place links down below in the description. The box came really well packaged, nothing was damaged, which is always a plus, and there came a bunch of little accessories in this toolkit, such as the power supply, there was some gloves, there was a USB flash drive, Allen keys, some additional screws, a little pouring cup for the resin if you want to measure things out. You've got some clippers or cable cutters, which are great for removing supports from your prints. There was also a few different napkins and some face masks if you decide you want to use those. So definitely nothing lacking in the department of that end. There's also a little filter, like cone filter, if you need to pour your resin back into a bottle, that way to filter out any kind of hardened resin or particulates. The only thing that I will say I wish was included was some resin. There was not, so make sure when you order this you pick up some resin. I've been using ELEGOO's resin now for a few months, and I've been really happy with it, so I can place links to that down below. So I took the printer out of its box and removed the foam enclosures, which is really nice. It protects the Z from being bent and protects the build plate as well. I will say that right away I was incredibly impressed. This machine feels like it is built very, very well. I was also really happy with the top cover for this. It's just one piece that pops on and pops off. That was kind of one downside that I mentioned in my initial impressions of the AlphaWise W10. The top acrylic piece is held together by a couple bands, which it works well, but this just feels nicer. It definitely feels like a higher quality cover. And just like that, I powered up the machine and booted it up. Was displayed the brief user interface, which is really, really simple. It's basically bed leveling, exposure, a little bit of calibration stuff, language switching, and a print menu. So not a whole lot to do there. So I went ahead and set this up, which I'll walk you guys through. I initially lifted up the build plate attachment point because it was too low from shipping, and then I slid the build plate on. There's just one big knob on top, which I secured in place to attach the build plate to the actual frame. Once that was done, I unscrewed the two thumb screws, and this will allow you to completely remove the aluminum vat. This vat does use FEP film as well, so it'll be really similar to replace, just like on the other resin printers similar to this one, such as like the W10 or the Anycubic Photon. So the next thing to do is to level the build plate. Incredibly easy to do. You just loosen these two grub screws, and the build plate's actually on like a ball that pivots around. So by loosening that, you'll allow the build plate to rotate in essentially like a 360-degree angle. And then I just took some printer paper, some A4 paper, and placed that on the LCD screen, and went to manual and hit the left button, which is to drop down the build plate to what 0 would be. So the build plate will lower. It'll press up against the paper, which is the gap that you want between the build plate and the vat. And then all you're going to do here is use one hand to hold the build plate in place and the other hand to adjust or tighten those grub screws again. They do recommend to start off tightening the center grub screw as I did here, so make sure you do that so that way the build plate is actually nice and center. I tightened it pretty tight, but as always, when I'm messing with anything, you don't need to over tighten it. Once you've gotten it tight, I just do a tiny little additional turn, and that helps to make sure the build plate is nice and secured in place. So once that was done, I just went ahead and lifted up the build plate. You want to lift it up high enough so that way you can place the vat back in place here and also remove that white piece of printer paper. So just as long as you bump it up above those 2 thumb screws, then you'll be good to go on that. So the other thing I wanted to check was the exposure to make sure the LCD screen was working. So if you go to exposure and just click next, you can see a rectangle pop up on the LCD screen, and that way you know that everything is working correctly, and you can go ahead and reseat the vat in place and tighten those 2 screws back down, securing that to the printer. While reseating it, I kind of wiggled the vat back and forth just to make sure that the thumb screws caught onto the 2 notches on the vat and that it was completely centered like it was supposed to be. Once done with that, I plugged the flash drive into the back of the printer to see if there was any test prints, and there was 1 test print on there, and I went ahead and used ELEGOO's resin, thinking that this test print was likely calibrated for their resin, which I was pleasantly surprised, or not pleasantly surprised, but I was happy to see that that was the case. I've been using the resin again for quite a while on my other machine, and it's been really low odor, high quality, and very affordable, so huge fan. I then navigated over to the dual rook test file, and I was off and printing. Again, the really nice thing about the resin printers is that they are typically very quiet. The loudest thing, like on a lot of printers, actually is the fan, but it's still not incredibly loud. I've got this guy currently in my living room, and with this resin that's low odor, it doesn't cause any irritation whatsoever. So I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and was greeted with these 2 prints that looked absolutely insane. Seriously, these rooks were incredible, from the spirals to the helixes internally to there's a tiny spiral staircase inside of them. I was incredibly impressed, like completely blown away, and could not wait to slice up something myself and kind of try it again and see how it worked with the model that I imported. So I will say that I will be following this up with a second video after a few weeks of use, showing some of the prints that I've done and taking you through the slicer software. The slicing software that this comes with, which is one that a lot of people use on the Photon, is called Chit2Box, which seems to work well. I downloaded a model off of my Mini Factory, sliced it up using the default settings. It was really easy to hollow out and place holes on the model. And again, once again, I was just completely blown away. The model looks amazing. It's like a candy skull, essentially. I'll likely end up airbrushing this at some point and trying to kind of highlight and bring out all of those details. But I love this gray resin. It's probably my favorite resin I've been using so far, at least for doing models. And then this is after I soaked it in isopropyl alcohol and went ahead and did a bit of curing. It needs a little bit more curing, as you can see on the bottom down there. There's still some wet resin, but damn, does this look incredible. So this is the ELEGOO Mars. Again, links will be down below in the description of this video. If you are debating on buying, I sort of urge you to maybe take the plunge over the next week or so here while it's on sale. I don't remember the exact discounting they were saying, but I want to say it was something along the lines of $50 off, so right around $300-ish, which to me, for a 2K LCD screen resin printer, that is unbelievable. So let me know if you guys have any additional questions down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy the content and you want to support my channel even more so, check out my Patreon. Links will be in the description for that. I've got some really awesome stuff for the rewards, and I just got my new stickers in, which I'm super excited about, so hopefully you guys will be too. As always, thank you guys for watching. I love making videos for you guys, and I cannot wait to test this machine out some more and really see what it's capable of. On that note, I am out. Peace, guys.